Hello everybody and welcome back to another Forza Horizon 4 video where today we have the Toyota Trueno, or if you'd like to refer to it as the full name, the 1985 Toyota Sprinter Trueno GT Apex, which I'm sure you've probably never heard before in your life and you probably won't ever hear it again because that is an absolute mouthful. But today, what I'm going to be doing is just giving this car a few races, one in A-Class, one in S1, because I personally feel like those are the best class restrictions for this vehicle, giving you a few of my opinions and just kind of seeing what I feel about the car in general. Now, as always, keep in mind that these are just my personal opinions on the car. There's a good chance that I like the car to handle a different way than you do, and that's completely okay. But as always, make sure you leave a comment down below with what you think about the car. Do you like it? Do you hate it in some way? Or is there something that you think I should try out that maybe you enjoy that I didn't actually give a shot in this video? And before we do get started with the races, I would just like to say that one of the big reasons why I really enjoy driving the classic Toyotas in this game is because the wonderful Creative Hub always gives us these really good paint schemes of the Toyota Racing Development liveries, which are just really classic, and it kind of reminds me of watching a lot of old races from the past, and I just think it really looks really clean in general. So starting off, we have just gotten into this race. This is an S1 class restriction race, and we're going to start off with S1. The race after this will be an A-Class. I'm just racing against the AI for the time being, so this shouldn't be too difficult, or at least I genuinely hope it's not, because that would be a really bad mark on my driving ability. Okay, so you can see this car actually handles pretty fine. It's not like the fastest car in the world by any means. It's probably not going to beat out the S1 meta cars, but it's completely fine. It does handle pretty well. You do need to get on the brakes a little bit because it lacks a little bit in the downforce department, but you know, that could just be the tune that I downloaded. In regards to the specific tune that I am using, this is just whatever the most popular or one of the most popular S1 tunes is in the Creative Hub. I personally did not make it, so of course you could probably tweak this a bit better, be a bit more to your own liking, and then you might have a bit more success with it than I am currently. But I think the car drives completely fine. It's not the fastest, like I said, but it's not very hard to drive either. It's actually really easy. It handles really well, and honestly, it's just pretty fun to drive in general. So one thing that I have noticed with this car, at least with this specific tune, is that the back end doesn't really ever kick out that much. It can happen depending on how hard you get on the brakes, but for the most part, it's pretty well planted, and for an S1 vehicle, that's honestly all I can really ask for. There are a lot of S1 cars that I drive that just kind of slide around all the corners, and while that might still be fine, it might still carry all of its speed. In this case, you see right there, that's about the most sliding I'm really gonna get out of this car. But I really like it when it's planted. I'm more of a conservative style driver when it comes to racing, so I like it to be more smooth on and off the throttle. And when you have to worry about it sliding, okay, as I crashed into the wall there, into that house, if it starts sliding around, that's when I really start to struggle a bit more because I'm not sure exactly where the car is going to go. Also, I do have to say that obviously, you know, the rear wing, we could do without that. It does look kind of, well, more than kind of, it looks pretty stupid. Just gonna say it. The car would look much cleaner with a lower profile. The wing kind of being there really doesn't fit in with the car. But you know, this is Forza Horizon 4. What are you gonna do? Things like that just gonna happen. I really do like how this car handles in the S's, I have to say. It handles really well with back and forth left and right hand corners. The corners I'm finding the most issues with are the ones that involve heavy braking, and I'm pretty sure that's more so on, you know, my part. I'm pretty sure the car can handle it fine. I'm just probably not paying too much attention as I'm trying to, you know, talk to all of you while also doing this at the same time. And it's still pretty clean. I had that one lap that was, you know, pretty scuffed, but beyond that, it's been pretty clean so far. And I mean, we're absolutely destroying the AI, which I would expect. I'm pretty sure the AI are set on highly skilled, just because that's basically what you use for the seasonals, which is how you obtain this car. So you can't really expect too much more out of it in a solo race. I am noticing that if you pump the brakes into the corners, you can kind of avoid a bit of the, you know, the understeer that I've been suffering in a few corners. I still think it might just be, you know, tweaking the tune a little bit could probably fix that, but I've had a lot more success doing that so that you don't lose the back end, you don't really kick it out a little bit. And at least in my opinion, you know, I prefer keeping it planted, so I think pumping the brake just slightly in some of these corners makes it a lot easier to handle in general. And barring me somehow defeating my best lap so far this race here in the final one, it looks like, you know, 103 roughly, that's probably going to be our best lap. I don't think that's breaking any records by any means, but you know what, I think that's pretty solid. It could probably be a lot better, especially with some practice. And in fact, I might actually beat it here in the final lap, so before I jinx myself, let's just see, maybe I'm going to somehow cut off an extra second here. And in fact, I actually do. 102, still probably not amazing by any means, but you know what, I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, and now we have transitioned over into an A-Class race, and you can see that on this particular tune, we do not have any of that ridiculous Forza arrow going on, so I greatly do appreciate that. And I probably should have started off the A-Class because I expected to have a bit more braking ability there. My bad, but you know, in my opinion, just gonna kind of spoil stuff a bit early here. I do feel like A-Class is a better, you know, kind of standard for this car than S1, just because at S1, I feel like it starts to get a bit hard to handle on some of the faster corners. Whereas in A-Class, you don't really need to push it that hard. It stays really well planted, even without a whole bunch of downforce. And I personally just think it seems more reasonable for this type of car instead of being up against all the like really high-tier S1 cars. Also, again, at night, you know, under the lights, I really do love this livery, so I think that it looks really nice. Doesn't have anything to actually do with the performance of the car, but you know, that's only about half the game. A lot of people just kind of like the way the car looks, like driving it around, cruising, things like that. And we're just going to tear out that green light there because, you know, who needs that? Okay, so I actually managed to make the first corner that time. Still got on the brakes a little bit too late. You probably do need to get on the brakes a bit earlier than you'd expect with this car, but it does handle pretty well and it does accelerate pretty well at this specific tune. So you're willing to sacrifice a bit of that braking ability in order to actually get through the corners pretty quick. This is also just, you know, as a like little side tangent of mine, probably one of my favorite default tracks in the game, as I kind of struggled to go through the entire S section there, just because I think it's pretty technical. And because you have these lovely staircases over here to the left, which can regularly catch people out and absolutely slaughter them. Fortunately, that doesn't really happen to me too often because I'm way too apparent with those. But you can see we are comfortably pulling ahead from the AI. But you're going to see here, get on the brakes, still a bit late. That is one thing you'd have to worry about. It's probably this tune specifically, but I have found other A-Class tunes where you can get on the brakes a bit later than that and still be fine. In this particular case, you would want to probably tweak that a little bit, because I'm getting on the brakes pretty early and still struggling to really, you know, get the speeds down for the corner. But it's really only that one corner, and that's because you're coming off of a really long straightaway. That's something you can probably deal with on other tracks. Okay, so we actually made it through the S section that time pretty cleanly. You know, I can live with that. I've not been driving to the best of my abilities. You know, I do have a minor paper cut on my left thumb. I'm not going to try to really use that as an excuse for my poor driving abilities, but you know what? If it makes you think I'm not this bad, I'll take it. I do generally feel like this car's handling better than what I'm giving it credit for right now. I probably should have just done A-Class before S1, to be honest. You probably get better as you ramp up the speeds as opposed to going from S1 and then down. You get a bit too accustomed to the braking potential and the actual downforce that you have at those class restrictions. Also, I have no idea what that was, but my refrigerator sounds like it just let out a gunshot. I have absolutely no idea where that came from, but I'm just gonna, you know, hope it doesn't explode or something, because it's, you know, in the background, so who knows what's going to happen there. But we are going to come to the line pretty cleanly. This wasn't amazing by any means. It's probably more so the track. I didn't race that well, but A-Class, not a problem. And of course, you just have to get that Macarena in there, because what's the point of them giving you all these stupid cosmetics if you're not going to use them? So those are the two races for today's video. I have tried this car in S2 before, and I can safely say that I don't think this car belongs in S2. But granted, a lot of that could just be my own ability. I personally don't think I'm good in S2 whatsoever. Basically, S1, A-Class, I think that's generally the class restriction that I'm most comfortable with. So it could just be that the car is capable in S2 and I'm just not good enough to handle it. But I personally think A-Class, probably the range you want to keep it in. I could see B-Class potentially being a good argument, especially in like dirt. I haven't really done a whole lot of dirt racing with this car, so maybe that's something that I should try out in the future. But do let me know what you guys think with this car. Do you guys enjoy the car? Do you hate it? Do you think that it was something worth investing your time into? Because this is a car that in order to obtain, as I'll show you here, you had to go to winter, you had to get 80% to unlock the Toyota Trueno. That is not the most trivial thing in the world, especially if you're struggling with some things like the trial that we had here, and the fact that apparently I only got 93%, despite completing every single event, well, except for one daily, I guess, for that season. But you know, I think it was worth it. I think the car is pretty fun. It's got classic Toyota. Mainly the livery. I mean, the livery kind of rubs off on me the right way. But I enjoy driving it. You know, it's not going to beat any like meta car in A-Class or S1 or probably any class restriction, to be honest. But I think it's just a fun car in general. And honestly, I think that's good enough. But like I said, do let me know down in the comments below what you think about this car. Do you enjoy it? Do you hate it? What restriction do you like using it in? Do you use it as a drift car? And do you like driving it on road, or do you prefer doing it on dirt? You know what? I've seen a lot of people try and use this in rally, and it looks pretty comparable. I personally am just more comfortable with road racing, so that's what I've been doing it with. It really does have a lot of possibilities. And before we do go, I would just like to say that if you are new around here, please consider subscribing and leaving a like if you did enjoy. It really does help me out a lot, and it lets me know that you guys did enjoy seeing this type of content and would like to see more of it in the future. Also, if you're new around here or you don't yet know about it, feel free to go down to the description below and check out my Twitch channel. I do stream Forza 3 times a week over there, and then I also stream some variety twice a week. And we just have a really positive, fun community over there where we just kind of do a bunch of races, have some fun, try out some new wacky builds, and generally it's just, you know, pretty chill time. So feel free to come on, chat, say hi, even if that's all that you're able to do. I'd absolutely appreciate just having you over. But anyways, that's all I have for you guys in this video. I hope you enjoyed. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next one.